On today's show, that's right, you didn't dream it. The Dallas Mavericks are in the NBA playoffs. One of my biggest questions about the Mavs, the Celtics, and how they guard the Mavs stars on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and your best friend covering the Dallas Mavericks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day on any podcast platform, leave a 5-star review, like the video on YouTube, and comment anything below. Let me know in the comment section, what's your biggest question about the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals 2024? Feels good every time I say it. Also, shout out to everybody that liked the video from the postgame. 3,700 likes. It smashes our last record. It was 2,700, so shout out to all of you guys. The Mavs are in the NBA Finals. You didn't dream it. It's actually happening. They're in the NBA Finals, and let's ask some of the biggest questions. I got questions about the Mavs, their identity. Mavs questions about the Celtics and what they want to do on offense. Questions about Porzingis and his health. Question about Porzingis and his health that we don't have to worry about as far as like the Mavericks side of things. It's kind of nice. I've got a question about Kyrie, but I got to start here. I got to start with Luka Doncic because everything kind of runs through him. Kyrie Irving has been great in this run, but everything kind of runs through and is made possible because of
Luka Doncic, Luka Doncic.
That's right. Luka Doncic, the Western Conference player of the playoffs, the Magic Johnson Trophy went to him, rightfully so. He absolutely was amazing in that Minnesota Timberwolves series. And what did I say before the Timberwolves series? If Luka Doncic can dominate his matchup against Jaden McDaniels, an all-defensive player in the NBA, there's only 10 of those. How many wings did there's like 15 centers. There's like 15 centers that were named the all-defensive. And so how many wings actually got named? Herb Jones and Jaden McDaniels. That's it. 2 wings were named the all-defense this year because there were so many centers and several guards. Derek White, Caruso, Drew Holiday, Jalen Suggs, all guards. Four guards, 2 wings, and 4 centers named the all-defense. 2 wings were named the all-defense, and Luka dominated his matchup. Dominated Jaden McDaniels in it. He couldn't stay with him. Luka had him on his hip the whole playoffs. Had him in foul trouble. Had him struggling. They also had Rudy Gobert at the rim. You'd think a really good wing. Rudy Gobert was first team all defense. Jaden McDaniels second team all defense. One of only 2 wings to make the all defense. You'd think if they had 2 of those that they would be able to defend. They would be able to defend Luka Doncic at least some, and they couldn't at all. And what I said before the Timberwolves series, if he can dominate that matchup, that's the domino that everything else falls. And Luka did that. He dominated that matchup. Everything else fell, and it worked out the way that I hoped that it would. And even quicker than I hoped it would. I picked Mavs in 7. But now you have a Boston Celtics team where it's Drew Holiday and Derek White were both on the all-defensive team. Now they're smaller guards. And so my question started as, who guards Luka? The answer to that is Jaylen Brown will probably guard Luka. He guarded him in the 2 matchups that they had in the regular season, 57 possessions. Drew Holiday was the next highest at 31 possessions. So Jaylen Brown, twice as many possessions as the next highest Celtic guarding Luka. He's going to be the one that probably takes Luka. But you need Jaylen Brown on offense. I think they're going to need him to score. I think they're going to need him. He was the guy that won the Eastern Conference Player of the playoffs, the Larry Bird Trophy. And I think that is notable. You don't want him having to deal with Luka over and over and over again, and then also asking him to score on the other end. I think it'll wear him down eventually. So then my question went from who guards Luka to how guards Luka. How will the guards of Luka of the Boston Celtics, how can they be involved and guard Luka? I think that's something that we need to watch. Because I think that they're gonna need to try. Because I think if you just put Jaylen Brown on him, I don't think that's going to work either. Jaylen Brown is not like an elite defensive player. He's a good defensive player, but you're not putting him on there and all of a sudden you go, that's it. Wipe your hands clean. Good. And the Celtics won't settle with that either. They won't settle with just one-on-one coverage. Luka dominates the one-on-one coverage. They'll have counters. They'll have things that they'll throw at Luka. And so then it becomes, do those guards come up and help? Does Tatum come up and help? Does the center in some ways, Horford or Porzingis if he plays, like do they come up and help? And so who guards Luka I think is a huge question. In the regular season, on January 22nd, the Mavs lost both of these games, but Luka had 33 points, 18 boards, 13 assists. He took 30 shots to get there, but still 33 points. March 1st, he had 37 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists on 25 shots. So putting Jaylen Brown on him, putting Jrue Holiday on him has not worked just on Luka. 12 of 30, maybe that worked. But still 13 assists. Like, I think that's something that the Celtics are really going to have an issue with. Luka is the best player in the series. And a lot of times if you have the best player in the series, you win. And that's the first thing that they have to figure out. That's the first domino I think that falls again. I think that that's something we really need to focus on is who guards Luka Doncic. How will the guards be involved in guarding Luka Doncic? Because you can imagine if he takes advantage of Jaylen Brown and all of a sudden that matchup looks like Jaden McDaniels, they don't have like a Kyle Anderson to come in and try. Tatum is like their Kyle Anderson to come in and try, or Horford, or throw Derek White, or throw Jrue Holiday on them. That takes one of them off of Kyrie. That I think is going to be an issue, and I think that's something that's very interesting to watch. The chess match of how they guard Luka. The Timberwolves tried all kinds of stuff. Jaden McDaniels on him one-on-one. They tried to drop coverage. They tried playing up, tried trapping. They tried Kyle Anderson on him, tried Anthony Edwards on him. They tried all kinds of stuff. Luka is just an offensive engine that bends your defense to his will, has every answer in front of him, and over again has solved the best defenses. Remember how Luka's playoff career started. 21 years old, playing on a team with Porzingis, who was playing pretty well, and kind of not much else. And he went out there at 21 years old against the Clippers, who were this juggernaut-looking team that had all these wings to throw at him. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Marcus Morris, Nico Batum, Terrence Mann, all these wings that they could throw at Luka. And he picked them apart one by one, over and over again. That's how his playoff career started. And now we've gone through, and he's seen every defense. The Timberwolves defense is better than the Boston Celtics defense. Sorry. If you've got a Shamrock in your display name on Twitter, I'm apologizing for telling you that's a fact. And so I don't think the Celtics will be better at guarding Luka. But I think they'll have different options. They'll have different things. They have these two guards that are excellent. They'll play better team defense, I think, than the Timberwolves did. I think the Timberwolves really broke down, especially with the Rudy Gobert factor of it. Luka just destroys those kind of bigs that try and come up or try and drop and try to make you decide. Hey, make a decision. They force you into making a decision. Luka's like, okay, cool. I'll make a decision. I make decisions faster than anyone in the league. Cool. How do they guard Luka? Is it just Jaylen Brown? What happens after that? That's something I'm really looking at. I'm curious to see how they start. I think they'll start with Jaylen Brown, but maybe if it's different, then all of a sudden that's something really intriguing too. What if they do something different than what we expect? Will Tatum get involved? We've been told, at least by the Celtics fans, that Tatum is up there with Luka. It's a conversation who's the best player in the series because of Tatum's defense. All right. Same thing was said about SGA. His defense did not shine in the Mavs series. Will Tatum be asked to do something like that? Will he be asked to step up on defense and guard Luka? Luka has been asked to guard Kawhi. He's been asked to guard other guys because of switches. The other team will hunt that switch and try and get Luka to guard them, and he stepped up to it. And so I'm curious if that changes anything too. Do they start Jaylen Brown on him? How do the guards get involved? And how does Luka take advantage of it? How does he solve it? Because I think he will eventually. Coming up, let's ask a question about Kyrie. We know Luka's going to be the best player in the series. Where does Kyrie rank after that? And does that determine how this series goes? Coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com and you go ahead and pick 2 to 6 players and more or less on their stat projections. You don't have to wade through a whole bunch of different, drafts and try and figure out stuff like that. They have stuff for the NBA Finals already. Look, they got a couple freebies for you. More or less, do you think Tatum is going to have more than 0.5 points in game 1 on Thursday? Do you think he scores 1 point? Okay, I'll go more on that one. Just not a hater. Just I think he'll score more than 1 point. Or I think he will score 1 point. He'll score more than 0 points. Luka Doncic 30.5. Give me more on that one. Jaylen Brown 23.5. You know what? Give me more on 23.5 for him as well. Derek Lively points plus rebounds plus assists 17. Okay, I'll be a hater on this one. Give me less on that one, just for something different. Kyrie Irving 24 points. Oh yeah, give me more on that one for sure. I put down $20 on all those. I can get 20, or I can get $200. If I put down just $5, I can get $50 on that. All kinds of fun stuff on PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use that promo code LockedOnNBA, all lowercase, LockedOnNBA for first deposit match up to $100 at prizepicks.com.
My first shot, my first play.
Thanks everybody for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Appreciate each and every one of you for joining in on the show. A 5-day-a-week Dallas Mavericks podcast, continuing on through the regular season, playoffs, off-season, all that will continue to be multiple times a day throughout the playoffs with the one more thing. All right, Isaac, let's get into some more questions about this Mavericks-Celtics matchup. First one is, how do the Celtics guard Luka? Next one, where does Kyrie rank among the best players? In the Minnesota series, Kyrie was clearly the second best player in the series. Anthony Edwards had some good games. Towns had some less good games. Kyrie had 1 bad game and 4 really good ones. And that stood out. And I think he was the second best player, and I think that really stood out. And the Mavericks got the win in 5 games because Luka and Kyrie were the 2 best players in the series. They dominated in crunch time. They beat them when it mattered, and Kyrie was a big part of that. Now you have Luka Doncic is the best player in the series still. Then you have Tatum and Brown. Tatum has been taunted as, taunted. He has been taunted, that's for sure. He's been touted as one of the best players in the NBA. He has been, a 4-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Star. He was 6th in MVP, 4th last year in MVP. He's been a great player. Can Kyrie get close to him? Can Kyrie get close to where he is? What about Jaylen Brown? Jaylen Brown just won the Eastern Conference Player of the playoffs, the Larry Bird Trophy. He was better than Tatum according to those 9 voters, according to the 5 out of the 9 voters that voted for him to win that trophy. He was better in that last series. Where does Kyrie rank in there? How does he get in there? I'm really curious to see where he can get, because I think that could really change. This is going to be a big series for Kyrie Irving, because now you have a similar setup that you had in the Thunder series. You have 2 all-defensive guards on him. Drew Holiday started on him on the March 1st matchup and guarded him a lot of the time. Derek White also guarded him in that matchup. Kyrie did well in that game. But you've got 2 really good guard defenders on him. How will Kyrie take advantage of those guys? How will he be able to score on them? Or will it be another thing like the Thunder series where Jalen Williams was very good on him, they sent some extra help, and Kyrie struggled? The Timberwolves series, they had Anthony Edwards on him, and Anthony Edwards said, hey, that's my matchup. And then it didn't work so well for Anthony Edwards because Kyrie just was able to take advantage of from game 1, took advantage of that matchup. How will this one work? Because if Kyrie can be the 3rd best player, the 2nd best player in the series, that's a big difference than if Tatum and Brown are both better than him. This is a challenge that Kyrie's going to have to face. It's against his former team. It's fascinating. There's some history there. It seems like there's some animosity there between, Kyrie, the team, obviously Kyrie, the fans. He was only there 2 seasons. It's kind of wild. He was an all-star in both seasons. He made All-NBA 2nd team? He wasn't there very long. Only played in 1 playoffs for him. Won 1 series and lost the other. But where does Kyrie rank among the best players in the series? That's my next question. Because if he can get to 2, if he's at 3 solidly, it's much better for Dallas, obviously. But that's a big question. Kristaps Porzingis' health. Oh, Remember the days when after a playoff series, Kristaps Porzingis was not healthy and he'd have to go through rehab all through the offseason. And then in 2021, the glorious day of, man, we got the first healthy KP offseason. Going into this 2022 season is going to be awesome. Take a drink every time we mention that KP it's his first healthy offseason in the NBA. If you remember that, you're a real Raccoon Squad member, a real OG listener of the show. But now, KP, he's played 57 of the 82 regular season games for the Celtics. He's only played in 4 out of the 14 playoff games. So kind of like Maxey, where he played some games and then was out for a couple series. Porzingis was only 4th on the team in minutes per game. He averaged less than 30 minutes a game. The Celtics were 43-14 when he played, so a 75% winning percentage. And they were 21-4 when he didn't play, an 84% winning percentage. Statistically, they were better without him. They won more games without him on average. He also kind of barely made a difference whether he was in the lineup or not. They were a plus 11 when he total, like overall. They were a plus about 12 when he played and a plus 11 when he didn't play. It's like a 1 point difference basically when KP did play or when he didn't play. The offense was better when he sat, barely by 2 points. The defense was better by 3 points when he played. So KP has been better for the Celtics defense. He's got a right calf strain in street clothes. Our friend Jeff Stotts said that on average, about 17 days is the average for a right calf strain. Luka had a calf strain this season. Porzingis has been out since April 29th, so it'll be 38 days from the time he's out in the playoffs to the time that he'll play game 1 maybe in the NBA Finals. 38 days. That's a long time to not play. He was in practice. Joe Mazzulla, the head coach of the Boston Celtics, said he's getting better. He's out there shooting. He went through a couple of drills in practice, so progressing well, kind of confident where he's at right now. He went through a couple of drills and is out there shooting. That's not a guy that's like full contact, ready to go. Like they're slowly bringing him back, which they should. We've all been through that. But this does not sound like a guy that's ready to come right out of the gate and like start swinging and be 100%. No rust, everything. I mean, how many times have we heard from Porzingis he's a rhythm player? Is he going to have that rhythm in game 1 of the finals? All of a sudden, he played 4 games in the first round, lost one of those games to the Heat, and he's just going to come out in the NBA Finals and just be ready to go? A guy that has not played a ton of playoff games in general. Didn't for the Knicks. Remember, he played 3 really good playoff games for the Mavericks against the Clippers and they got hurt. Then played 7 really bad games against the Clippers that next year. And he's played 4 games for the Celtics in which they lost one of them to Miami Heat without Jimmy Butler. That's Porzingis' playoff resume. He averaged 13 points a game against the Clippers in 2021. When people go, oh man, the Mavs fumbled the KP thing so bad. No, KP fumbled the KP thing with the Mavs so bad. 13 points a game in the playoffs. Come on, man. 5 rebounds a game. Goodness. 5 rebounds in 33 minutes. 7'2". I get more rebounds than that in a pickup game. Ugh. He played 10 straight games to start the season, and then he played 7 straight games to end the season. Just about. There's 4 games left. He played 6 straight games to start February, and he played 5 straight games 3 other times. That's his only streaks playing games this season. He is not strung. He's strung together, just to put it in perspective. Let's say that this finals is a 7-game series. He's only played 7 games in a row twice this whole season. The 7 games towards the end of the season and the 10 games to start the season. Porzingis' health is a big question mark for the Boston Celtics. Now, the on-off stuff says that he doesn't really affect them at all, but it apparently does make their defense better. And they're better record-wise without him. Now, there's a lot of factors into all these things for sure. But I'm curious to see what happens. On the court, I think it changes some of the things that they can do. It changes some of their spacing. It obviously changes what Al Horford is asked to do. He's asked to play a little bit more. He's asked to be, the starting center, and they don't really have Luke Cornett is their backup, so he's asked to do a little bit more. It makes their depth a lot worse. And so I think that's a big deal for them. It also asks Al Horford to defend the rim. They defend the rim a little bit differently. They don't have that guy to just stand back there and defend the rim. as easily. Derek White kind of becomes that guy, like the low man in a way, in like a weird way. But I think that this is a bigger deal than this is a big deal for their depth, and it helps the Mavericks if Porzingis is not available. He only averaged 26 minutes a game in the playoffs, by the way. He played those 4 games, and Horford's played 30. Porzingis only played 26. That's a big question. It's a big question for them. Maybe they have to answer it. Out with a calf strain. Seems like he's progressing well. They've got some time before the finals for sure. But if they ramp him up and finally like he's taking contact the day before, the second day before the finals, I don't know. How does he come out? Can the Mavs take advantage of that? That's another big question. Coming up, I got 2 questions about the Mavs, their defense, and how their defense can respond to the Boston Celtics offense that has been excellent. The best offense they're going to face, that they could face in the NBA. We'll talk about that coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac, let's get into 2 more questions, talking about the biggest questions that I have for the Mavs-Celtics series. Next one is, can the Dallas Mavericks maintain their size? One of the Mavericks' superpowers has been their ability to have 48 minutes of 2 guys that can catch lobs, defend the rim, get rebounds, be big, and all that. It covers for a lot of deficiencies from the Mavs guards who are not elite defenders. Covers a lot of deficiencies from their wings who are not great offensive players, can't get their own buckets, so it gives the Mavericks an option to, a verticality option. It creates some space on the floor because of their roll gravity. I've talked about this before. When a player comes up, like let's say Gafford sets a screen, he rolls to the basket, all of a sudden attention goes to the middle of the court. All of a sudden eyes just turn to the middle of the court. And when those eyes turn to the middle of the court, it opens up guys like PJ Washington, Derrick Jones Jr. to either make cuts or find an open lane or find an open spot on the floor to take a shot. These guys affect the Mavericks a lot. The Mavericks game March 1st against the Celtics everybody was available. Everybody played. It was after the trades. It was in that stretch where the Mavs lost 5 of 6 games where the defense looked so awful. They got destroyed by the Celtics in that game. Lively started and played 23 minutes. He was a minus 15. Maxey played 20 minutes off the bench, minus 7. And Gafford only played 6 minutes in that game. They still really didn't know. Kids still didn't really even have an idea of like where he wanted to go with this group. It was so early. It was so early in that group. But in that game, you go, man, the Celtics were just bombing from 3. They hit over 23s. It's what they do. I'm going to talk about their 3-point shooting in a minute. I've got a ton of numbers on that. But can the Mavericks maintain their size? Because if they can't, all of a sudden it's the Mavs with Maxi Kleber at the 5 playing a 3-point shootout. And you don't want to get into a 3-point shootout with the Boston Celtics. And if Porzingis is going to be out, it's the Mavs big centers versus Al Horford. Okay. I'm fine with that. He's 37 years old. He's very good. He's playing 30 minutes a game. But can Lively and Gafford take advantage of that for, however long he's not on the court? Luke Cornett, does he have a chance to guard these 2 guys? But if the Mavs can't maintain their size, let's say they're forced to say, man, we just can't have these 2 big guys out there. They're just getting destroyed by all these cuts, by all these open 3-point looks. Drew Holiday's hitting a bunch of corner 3s on us. Derek White's hitting a bunch of corner 3s. We can't run the same kind of defense that we did against the Thunder. Against the Thunder, what the Mavericks were able to do is they had PJ Washington guard Chet Holmgren, the Thunder center, and they had Lively or Gafford kind of roaming around. They were technically guarding Josh Giddey, or they were guarding Lou Dort on the wing, and they let them shoot open 3s. Lou Dort took the most 3s on the Thunder. I think he took almost double the amount of 3s in the series that SGA did. Just left them kind of open so that they could roam around. Now, there's rotations and things like that. It wasn't like he was taking just wide open 3s all the time. But I don't think the Mavericks will be able to do the same kind of thing. I don't think they'll be able to put, for example, Porzingis starts, Luka guards Porzingis, and then you have Lively or Gafford. Let's say Gafford starts. Gafford on Derek White or Drew Holiday. That is not as tenable as against Lou Dort or Josh Giddey. I don't know that they'll be able to do the same kind of strategy like they did against the Thunder. So will they be able to maintain their size? Lively has shown an ability to switch and to guard on the perimeter, and I think that is invaluable right now. The Celtics can't always play with this 5 out either. They'll have Luke Cornett out there. They'll have Peyton Pritchard. They'll have some other guys, but they have a lot of 3-point shooters. Like, they just do. Like, that's their superpower. And that's my next big question. Can Dallas limit Boston's threes like they did against OKC? OKC, one of the big things is just limit the amount of threes that OKC takes, and all of a sudden it becomes a numbers game for the Mavs and they win. Take a seat Open your calculators, because here we go. I got some numbers for you about the Boston Celtics 3-point shooting team. And all that you need to know about all these numbers: when the Celtics hit threes, they win. When they don't, they lose. That's all you need to know from this. But here we go. Celtics 38-1 when they shoot over 39% from three in the regular season. 38-1. And that's not even like 45%. That's 39%. They're 6-11 when they shot under 32% from three. 6-11. This team that was dominant, this team that went and won, 64 games this season? Were 6-11 when they shot under 32% from three. 11 of their 18 losses came when they shot under 32% from three. The Celtics were 27-0. Didn't lose a single game in the regular season when they hit over 18 threes. One of those was against the Mavericks. 27-0. They did not lose when they hit more than 18 threes. And they did it 27 times. That's maybe the more impressive number. Not that they didn't lose, but that they did it 27 times. They were 3-6 when they hit less than 12 threes. In the regular, this is all regular season. And Boston was 10-11 when they had a negative 3-point makes compared to their opponent. So when the opponent made more 3-point shots than the Celtics did in the regular season, Celtics were only 10-11. So that's the regular season. Insane. They make a bunch of threes, they win all the games. They missed threes, 6-11 when they shot under 32%. That number was wild to me. In the playoffs, they're 11-2. So you're like, okay, only 2 losses. So there can't be many trends between 2 losses. Oh, there are. 11-0 when they hit over 13 threes. 2-2 when they hit less than 13 threes. Both their losses, they hit less than 13 threes. That's a key right there. In the one loss to Cleveland, they shot under 29% from three. And in both playoff losses, to Miami in the first round, Cleveland in the second round, they had their lowest negative 3-point made compared to their opponent. Miami hit 11 more threes than Boston did, and Cleveland hit 5 more threes than Boston did. And those were their 2 lowest net difference between their threes made and their opponents made threes. So if the Mavericks can hit more threes than the Celtics, they will win. That's what I take from that. But the Mavericks don't play like that. The Mavericks don't play that way. So I think they have to limit Boston's amount of threes they can take, because you have to limit that superpower. You cannot just let them bomb a bunch of threes. Drew Holiday's been great in the corners. Derek White's been a good 3-point shooter. You just can't allow these guys to take just a ton of threes and all of a sudden them just shoot you out of the gym. That's real big. Yeah, Tatum, 8 threes a game, 37%. Derek White, 7 threes a game, 39%. Jaylen Brown, 6 threes a game, 35%. Sam Hauser, 6 threes a game, 42% off the bench. Porzingis, 5 threes a game, 37%. Drew Holiday, almost 5 threes a game, 43% from three. He's getting left open. Peyton Pritchard, 5 threes a game, 38%. Al Horford, 4 threes a game, 42%. Like, that's their top 8. I just named their top 8. And they all take more than 4 threes a game, and they all shot between 35 and 44% from three. Celtics team, this 3-point shooting is no joke. The Mavericks cannot take it lightly. They cannot do what they allowed the Clippers to do in game 1 of that series, where they just let them take a bunch of threes. Hey, just do whatever you guys want to do. They cannot do that. They have to come out and limit the amount of threes. That is going to be one of my keys for sure. That is one of my big questions is, can they limit the amount of threes? Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me on Locked On Mavs. We've got more. I've got the one more thing coming up where I'm going to talk about how a finals appearance affects Luka and Kyrie. I've got more stuff. Isaac will be joining me. Dana Larson will be joining me this week. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.